Hello! I need your opinion on a matter that hurts me a lot, and I want to check if I'm doing something wrong. I would be grateful for any advice. I've been living with a woman for about a year. We've been having a lot of problems and fighting a lot lately. All the scandals happen when something doesn't go her way. She travels a lot for her job. I also travel for mine. It's gotten to the point where colleagues have to replace me so I can go with her and drive her from point A to B. However, next week something big is coming up for me, a huge chance that brings me closer to making my dream come true. We had a scandal because I accepted this commitment and thus I won't be able to drive her. During our scandal, I told her that it was selfish to ask me to give up my dream to be a driver in the realization of hers, especially since she's also a driver and we have 2 cars. Please tell me if you have been in a similar situation and how did your partners react?
Wow, that is such a raw and painful question, isn't it? It really gets to the heart of a dilemma that so many of us face in our relationships. It feels incredibly personal, but it touches on something universal. So let's break this down from a psychological perspective. What are we really looking at here? Is this a simple, reasonable request for support, or is it something more?
Right, so let's get into it. This situation, as you've probably already figured out, isn't really about a car ride. It goes so much deeper. What we're actually seeing here is a fundamental conflict of values, and it forces us to ask some really big questions about partnership. Where does support end? And where does unhealthy sacrifice begin? How do we balance what our partner needs with our own essential dreams?
First things first, we have to acknowledge the emotion here. The original post, it's really a cry for help, isn't it? It comes from a place of genuine confusion and pain. This person isn't just looking for a simple yes or no answer. They're looking for validation. They're trying to figure out if what they're feeling is justified, if their internal compass is pointing in the right direction in this really tough situation.
And when you boil it all down, this is what the conflict looks like. It's so clear. On one side, you have this huge, life-changing opportunity. The pursuit of a dream. That's about growth, about becoming who you're meant to be. And on the other side, an expectation for convenience, for a partner to act as a personal driver, even when there are other options. That contrast is so stark, and it really shows you the deep imbalance that's at the core of this whole thing.
There's actually a psychological term for this kind of dynamic. We call it asymmetric mutuality. It's basically a way of saying that the give and take in the relationship is, it's totally lopsided. One person is always the one sacrificing their big, important goals for the other person's small comforts. And let's be clear, healthy relationships are built on support that goes both ways, not this kind of constant one-way sacrifice.
So that brings us right to the main event here, the central clash. We're really talking about the difference between a dream and a demand. A dream is all about expanding your world, about growth. But a demand? That often feels like your world is shrinking, like it's a form of control.
And this next part is so important because it comes straight from the person who wrote the post. Talk about a moment of powerful self-awareness. They've hit the nail on the head. They've realized that being asked to give up a core piece of their own life's path just to be an accessory to their partner's journey, that's not a reasonable ask. Recognizing that isn't selfish. It's an act of self-preservation.
And this is where you can see the 2 viewpoints just completely split. The original poster's argument is super rational, right? This is my dream, it's a huge opportunity, and you have another way to get there. But the partner's side of it, it seems to be purely emotional. It's rooted in this expectation that the poster should just be available, no matter what. The context gets totally ignored. And the fact that the partner can also drive, and that they have 2 cars, that's the kicker. It makes the whole thing feel less like a real need for support and more like a test of compliance.
Okay, so this brings up a really critical distinction. Let's be real. Every relationship has compromise. You have to make sacrifices sometimes. But there is a huge, bright line between what's healthy and what's not. And here's how you can tell the difference. That line between support and control, you cross it when a request completely ignores clear, practical alternatives and demands personal sacrifice instead. Think about it. If the goal was just about getting from point A to point B, the 2 cars would be the end of the story. Problem solved. But if the real goal is to make sure your partner is always available, to make sure they put you above everything else, even their own dreams, that's when you've wandered into the territory of control.
So what would this look like in a healthy relationship? What would a supportive partner actually do here? It's so important to have a benchmark, right? To know what real respect and mutual support actually looks like in practice.
In a truly balanced and secure partnership, the reaction would be the total opposite.
A supportive partner would hear this news and say something like, "Oh my gosh, that is an amazing opportunity for you. I am so proud. Go for it. I'll miss you for sure. But don't worry about me. We will figure out my travel. You have to do this." You see? They'd see their partner's win as their own win. They wouldn't start a fight or throw out accusations. They would celebrate their partner's growth.
Okay, so understanding the problem is step one. But what's next? You have to take action. And for anyone out there who might be in a similar boat, it is possible to start fixing this kind of imbalance. But it's not easy. It's going to take some real courage and some very clear communication.
So here's a kind of 4-step roadmap to navigate this conflict. Step 1, clear communication. You have to calmly explain why this is so important to you. Use I statements, talk about your feelings, not their actions. Step 2, focus on solutions. Be proactive. Suggest those other options for travel. This shows you still care about their needs, you're just separating the issue from the person. Step 3, and yeah, this is usually the hardest one. Set a boundary. You have to state, firmly but kindly, that giving up your dream is just not an option. And finally, step 4, offer emotional support. Reassure them that you choosing your dream isn't a rejection of them or the relationship. It's an affirmation of you. It separates the boundary from the bond.
When you put all of this together, it really all boils down to one single powerful idea, a core principle of what a healthy partnership should be all about.
And let's be absolutely crystal clear about this, because this is probably the most important piece of validation anyone in this situation needs to hear. You are not a bad partner for refusing to give up on your dream. You're not. A partner who demands that you shrink yourself to fit their needs, they aren't asking for love, they're asking for control.
So, the main takeaway here is this. A real partnership is about two whole, complete people choosing to walk the same path together, each one supporting the other to become the absolute best version of themselves. It's all about mutual encouragement. A constant pattern of demands, of fights, of ultimatums, that's a huge red flag that the relationship is imbalanced and, frankly, might be unhealthy.
And that brings us to one last question, something for you to reflect on. A healthy partnership should make your world feel bigger. It's like someone walks into your life and suddenly the horizon expands. But an unhealthy dynamic, that can feel like the walls are slowly closing in on you. So here's the question to ask yourself. Does your relationship make your world bigger, or does it demand that you make it smaller?